Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's lesson. We're looking at the moment at using tag data in a report or group. So this is the fourth lesson within the series of six that make up this short series all about looking at reporting and marketing behavior within Sage CRM. So we've been building up information about reports over the last few lessons. We started off by looking at running a report, then going through designing a basic report, uh, either as a list report, a cross-tabulated report, or a historical report in the first two lessons. And then yesterday we were looking at the inclusion of a chart inside a report. Today, I want to use some information called tagging data inside a report. We'll necessitate explaining what that tagging data is in a moment, but we'll be looking at how to use tag data either in a report or in a group. I'm covering both reporting and groups in the same lesson because really they're using the same metadata structures inside Sage CRM, although they're used for different purposes. Groups are used for creating these subsets and a segmented part of the CRM database for marketing purposes or for group batch work. Whereas a report is obviously for informational purposes rather than the work purposes that we might think of that a group is for. Nevertheless, they are using the same underlying metadata structures to be able to do this. So there's similarity in the way in which we will build a group or a report work. Now, anything that we cover in this series is being recorded and will be added into the playlist, the course playlist that is called Reporting and Marketing Administration on the Sage Support and Training YouTube channel. To start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to log on and just look at the idea of tagging of records. Tagging is a feature that was introduced into Sage CRM in 2024 R1. You can see here I'm logging on as Susan May. I've come into my dashboard, and if I start looking at my recent records, I can go and have a look at one of those company records. Here you can see that I'm now looking at Eurolandia, and you notice that up on the top left of the screen there is a label that says tags and with a little pen icon that if I click the pen icon it opens up an editing box and I can start to type in the name of a tag. Now I've assumed here that this is an existing tag that has already been created. There is a lesson all about tagging up on the YouTube channel, so do have a look at that. But here we can see that I've tagged this. If I just click the pen again, it's saved associated with this record. You can think of tagging as a bit like adding hashtags to a post, or it's really a way that we're creating some project markers or additives to be able to create an ad hoc labeling system in and above any of the fixed data like company status, company type, etc. that we see in here. So this is very much free form information. I can go and do this to another company and you can see that this is Gatecom, and what I'll do is I'll click in again. I'm calling this adding it into this tag called alpha, and I'm then choosing to save that in, and I can go off, and this time I'm going to go off and look at an opportunity. And the same tags can be reused between companies and opportunities, and any of the main entities can be tagged. And that means we can create these associative reports to bring things together, all that belong to a particular tag. Now, if we think of the word tag as a project, this is equivalent to adding in dimensional tagging within the context of, say, an accounting system. These are all associated with a larger idea. So again, I'm going to mark this as the tag alpha, but these could all be associated with an exhibition, for example, or they could all be associated with a particular set of tasks that sit outside of CRM. So it could be whatever you want to use to be able to classify this data. Now, to do some work with this, I'm going to switch across as this time I'm going to do it as the system administrator. The reason for doing this is that a system administrator has some more rights when it comes to the creation of groups. I'm going to create a group, first of all, using this tagging information. It's a useful little thing, and it'll become clear why I've chosen to do it as a system administrator. You can see that I've come into the dashboard. This is my first screen that I've logged onto as the system administrator. And now if I look underneath the My CRM menu, you can see that I've got the groups option, which I'll click on, and you can see I'm now looking at the groups that have been defined within Sage CRM. I am going to create a new group. I'm going to create a new group based on the company, and to do that, I'll also use the company search. The view that you're using itself can be very important, and where it says we're based on, currently it's got the company search list, that's an underlying label for a view that brings the data that I'm interested in together. Now I have to, I've marked this as available for all users, but now I have to go ahead and continue. And this is where I'm starting to build the group. Now, we've seen a screen like this when we started to build a report. You can see that the top part, deciding the data source, is very similar to deciding the data source for a report, but you'll notice as well here that it's automatically populated certain columns, thinking that these are the useful columns that you'd want to include within the write-out of the group. Now, what else I have to do is to now think about how I'm going to make use of the tagging information. And tagging is a type of information within Sage CRM, which is called key attribute profiling information. And if we click add key attribute data, you can see we get a pop-up box. And if I choose now the actual value in the first box on the left-hand side, the tag that we're interested in is project. So any of these tag values that we put up to are always put into the key attribute of project. So if I fill that in, you can see that I'm interested in that I'm looking at project with tag name as the item, and then within the tag name, I'm associating that with currently the profile item of company. So I'm only looking at the tag that has been added associated with the company in this particular group. Now I can choose to add this both into the column. Do you see that there is both add into the group contents and add into the search criteria? I can click both of these and I can add now the key attribute information into both of those locations. Within groups and reports, we'll see that we really only have the option of using the key attribute information, the tagging information, into the contents or the criteria. But let's continue with this. And so they're written back now into my details screen, and I can continue with the definition of this group. And that's what I want to work with, is alpha as the group that I'm going to be searching for. That's the tag that I was putting on all of the records earlier on. And if I now click to continue and save the group, this is showing me all of the company records that have been tagged with alpha at the moment. So this is the company records that have been tagged. Notice that they are in different territories. Whenever you use a group or you use a report, the user is going to be limited to the territories that they can see. So Susan May would only see the US and Canada items because that's her territory. In the demo user that I'm using, the system administrator has universal rights, can see everything, is not limited by a particular territory right. So now that I've chosen the creation of this group, then you notice that there's a button as well on the right hand side underneath the label advanced within the button area on the right side of the screen. If I click on the SQL, you'll see a little pop-up comes up and shows you, it gives you the SQL that has been used to be able to create this group. Now, I'm not going to take it any further than this, but I am just going to say is this is where somebody who is very cunning and wants to be able to bring information from within CRM together in a very interesting way can look at that SQL and understand that they could take it from the group associated with a company, the group associated with an opportunity, the group associated with a person, etc. And they can look at all of that SQL in order to create a union to allow you to bring tagging information across from all of the different entities within the system. I'm going to leave it like that, just close that down and return now. I'm going to log off, I think. I'm going to log off so I can log back on as my demo user, Susan May. So here I am back as Susan May. I understand that these tags that I've created earlier on within Eurolandia, within Gatecom, and within the opportunity can be seen and reported on by within the groups, fetched back by the group. We're now going to build a report that uses that. So if I go into reports and I go into, I think what I'll do is come down into the general area because we're concentrating just on the company, and I'm going to click to create a new report. So I have to fill in all of these report details and decide what type of report that I'm going to use. I'm going to create here, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to create a list report for myself. And you can see that I'm calling this my company tag report. I've got here, it's based on the company summary view, which is a very broad view. And you can see that it's looking there within the general category, and it is a list report. So I don't have as yet any contents decided on within my report, so I have to decide which columns that I want to include. I need to be able to then think about my criteria, search criteria, and how I can bring in other information. So if I fill in some information, you can see here that what I've done is very similar to the report definitions that I've done last week. We can see that we've created here just a 2-column report. I'm bringing in right now the information from the company name. That's really what I'm interested in. So how do I get the key attribute information or the tag information? Well, I click on the same button as I used when I was doing this for the creation of the group. You can see here that I have to choose the category, and then I have to choose the the fact that I'm interested in the tag name as the element. Within that, I'm focused on the company. So this is going to allow me now to add this both into the report report columns, so the output, and also the category, criteria. So I've used the information from my report definition and the tags both within inside the columns being written out, and also there within the search criteria. So if I click to continue, you can see that reflected within the main editing screen that these are now these additional fields. And so if I continue and then I continue beyond that, I'm going to leave it as though I'm calling back on alpha as the tag that I'm interested in. So I can continue, and I can set up my report in any way that I like. So I've just run through very quickly, and I can see that. Oh, by the way, here I'm not putting it into a chart. Charts have to work on the basis that the information is in the main view, so that the view is the thing that determines the elements that may be within the chart data. So because our view is company summary, and that does not automatically include the columns from the key attribute information, I can't build in this instance the a chart based on my key attribute information. But hold that thought, because at the end of this lesson, we'll show you that it is possible, although I'm not going to cover the how in this lesson. So if I step through and I look now at making that one of my favorite reports, I can run it. So I'm going to start the running of my report. It's looking at the categories that I'm interested in. And now if I run it, you can see this HTML report is bringing back exactly what I wanted, which is showing you not only the company information, but also the associated tag information. So I could base this on, if I have used my tagging to be able to label companies and data elements, I can write now and use that tagging information for segmentation, grouping by, etc., to be able to create a sense of what my the project that the tag represents is used for. So I can get different levels of information out from the system. Now, if I close the report, I'm going to think about what else I could do with it. Because if I come all the way out, cancel that, and here go off and switch across to the opportunity. So this is back into the opportunity. This is not something that is shown. So I reported on only the company information that was tagged and not the opportunity information that was tagged. But it is possible to do that. And this is why I'm now logging out and I'm logging back on as a system administrator. So if you remember, when we were looking at the creation of the groups, the system administrator can look at the underlying SQL of that group. And if you've got the an understanding of the underlying SQL that brings the metadata from the tag table, the key attribute data, into the main structure, you can then start to create a view that will bring and unify everything together. In fact, it's something called a union. which will bring all of the tag information together in a single view. Now, in my particular case, I've got a report here on company tag information that the system administrator can run, and we can see that this is my tagging information. That if I run this now, you can see I've got a chart in place. This is really quite interesting because I can, when I run my report, because I have created a view that includes the tag column or the data that represents that, I can include it inside the chart definitions. And I've got my summary table underneath the legend. And if I step through, you can see as well that I've therefore got my data all written out as to here. This is reporting on that it's not just an alpha tag, but there's beta, gamma, and delta as well. So this report, if I move back in the pages of the report, you can see here then I've got data that is worth graphically representing. So it makes sense that I can now look at this and see of all of the projects represented by the tag codes alpha, beta, gamma, delta. It is alpha that has got the most work associated with it, either because I know that it is either directly because the company is tagged or because an opportunity is tagged as well underneath maybe another company, but it is associated with this project code or tag. So that allows me to build that report. That's obviously a list report, and it's most useful in tagging in list reports. But what we've seen in this lesson is that tags are a flexible way of classifying records and that can be used directly in both reports and groups. We've seen that where you are based on one of the standard views within the system, you can only use the tagging information for an entity to be used to add in the contents. So you can write out the column for the project information into the contents or into the search criteria. Tagging allows a user to quickly segment data without having to rely on information that is fixed within the systems. It feels like status or type. And the groups using the tags can then be used for any of the purposes that you want. So you can, in the case of a group, you can do a mail merge. In the case of a report, you can export that to Excel as well, and they can be used as dashboard data sources. And if you want to get very sophisticated, customer views can be created that will enable reports to be able to bring together all of the tag information from any of the entities that you're interested in. Now we've come to the end of today's short lesson. We're going to be building on this information again, the group information that we've been looking at. We're going to think about creation of a simple marketing campaign in the next lesson, and then also look at the idea of using outbound calls as well. But before we move on to those and away from simple report definition, I wonder if anyone has any questions. Thank you for attending. I look forward to seeing you at the next lesson. Until we meet again, thank you and goodbye.